Okay, here's the frame clamping jig that we saw on the internet, and I've tried to faithfully reproduce a lot of the stuff that they did there. I made one exception, and I made you a long pair of legs, and I made you a shorter pair of legs. So we'll explain how all that goes together, but when you get your package, what you're going to get is 4 long legs, looking like that, 4 short legs. You're going to get 2 of the joiners, and you're going to get 12 of these little frame clamp pieces. You're going to get 8 specially made hand-forged plastic washers, very expensive, and 8 just regular steel washers. We've got 8 carriage bolts, 5/16, and 8 nice little knobs that'll tighten down those carriage bolts. And for added value, we threw in 4 longer carriage bolts, and I'll explain what those are for in a little bit. So that's what you'll get in your package. There may or may not be other goodies stuffed in around it, but this is the basics of what we've got. And I'll show you how in the next little bit to take this and put it together and make a frame clamp. Okay, we're back. Now this is going to be on how to assemble your pieces. So just for ease of explaining things, I'm going to use the short legs, and there's nothing special about it. What you'll see when you get them is on one side there'll appear to be what are round holes, and on the bottom of the pieces there are square holes, what look like square holes, and that's because of the head for the carriage bolt, and that sits in there and that keeps that bolt from turning. So for all intents and purposes, when I say the square holes, that's the bottom of the bars, because the bars are going to sit on the table like that while you're doing your clamping. And so these guys are always put in from the bottom, and if you can, just lightly sort of line up. It should pop into just a little bit of an indent there, and if you got a little rubber mallet, just give it a tap and it's in there. Next one, and we've already gone through this, so we know it's for what I'm going to show you here is basically an outside diameter 16 by 20 frame. So there's one of the legs. There. Down. There's 2. Okay, there you go. That should hold all these guys in place. Now you're going to take your specially made plastic washers and slip one over each bolt head. And we'll throw in some extras of these, so you have some in case some go missing. Okay, now where there's a big gap in the spacing of the holes, that's the end that you want to put the joiner on. So you just drop that in place, and this is where you get the steel washers. Now the steel washers will have one side that's very smooth and kind of rounded on the edge, and the other side you'll feel it with your finger, just a little bit of not a sharp edge, but it's sharper than the other side. The rounded edge I always put down towards the wood, and the sharper edge is what your clamp is going to ride on. And so it'll still, when you put enough pressure on it, it'll dent the wood, but it's nothing to be concerned about. And when you tighten these up, you just want to have them, sort of finger tight, so you can still move around, maybe a little bit looser so they're a little bit freer moving. And that's it. So then you take 2 of these guys and throw that on. This guy on here. Again, the steel washers with the smooth side down. And 2 more clamps. Okay, so that's one frame made. I'll just put that aside and we'll work on the second. Take the joiner, put it in place. couple steel washers on top, smooth side down, and a couple clamps. A couple knobs for the clamps. Now the spacing of these pieces, you can put them anywhere, you know, along these holes, but you'll find just from using it where, you know, or you can even mark them. You know, that hole's for a 16 by 20 frame. This is for this, that's for that. You know, whatever will work for you when you get the pieces. So basically, there's the two pieces done, and they sit in position like this. And for your viewing pleasure, I cut a little 16 by 20 frame here that we're going to clamp up. And basically it's just a little bit of finessing, trying to get these guys to line up. You'll have the advantage of having your pieces already stapled together. So your angles will already be set. And so you'll be dealing with 4 pieces, or 1 piece, but 4 sections that are already clamped together.
Or this can set it up before it goes to clamp to make sure that everything is lined up perfectly.
It can, yeah. So once you get it in there and everything's sort of set, it'll sort of self-center, and you can take your handy dandy little clamp that will also be sending you, or have on order, and you can then proceed to just lightly take the pressure on, and then again take your mallet and just tap the frame until the edges line up, till they look like they're all good to go. And then you can give it a little bit more pressure, double check everything, make sure everything's sitting flat,
and use your square.
and then to verify everything is good, you're going to be getting a handy dandy little square. Now, protect this with your life. Don't drop it on the floor. First time you do, throw it in the garbage because it won't be square anymore. So guard it with your life, and it's always your reference to square. And so once you have all this done, you should be able to take this, drop it inside, and boom, you're square. Same there. That one needs a little bit of adjustment, but it's still square. Another way to check, once it's out of the frame, just to verify, is if the thing is actually square. This one in particular is not square, it's a rectangle, but regardless, the corner to corner diagonal measurement when it's out of the frame clamp should be the same on both sides. If it's 20 inches this way, it should be 20 inches that way, and it's guaranteed to be square. Okay, that's the basic setup for the frame clamp. You can give that a little extra oomph. Take it, set it up against the wall. Sorry, I'm new to this TV stuff. Take it, set it up against the wall, and yeah, set it aside to dry. So, and we'll show you how to adapt to a different thing and what some of the other pieces are for. So, stay tuned. Okay, here's the last little part to this. I've included a few more of these specially shaped little clamp blocks. And what that does is when you're doing a normal size frame, even something a little thicker than 3/4 inch, these will be just fine. But if you have occasion to be able to do like a shadow box or something where the actual frame is going to be fairly thick, you can actually take and you can stack these guys. So where we've got the single one here now, put in the longer carriage bolts that will supply, and then just stack 2 or 3 if you need. And do the same thing with the washers on top. Same nuts, same bolts, same everything. And again, just tighten that down to what you need. And then when you're all set to go, you've got your frame all lined up. You just set it in here and do the squeeze. Do the tap. Yours will already be stapled, so you won't have to do this much. Yeah, and away you go. Make sure everything's sitting down, nice and flat. It's all strong. And, whoops, hang on. I'm out here. My frame was not square.
Oh,
Oh my God. Now it is. Okay. So that gets you something that's a little thicker if you need the same sort of thing, just a thicker box going in there. That's something that you can do. Just thought it might be handy. Add a little extra versatility to it. Like I said, that's a 16 by 20 outside diameter frame, and that takes up about half of the small bars. You've got unlimited possibilities when talking about the long bars. They're set up the same way, square holes, round holes, square on the bottom. You're gonna have to need, get a good sized table space to put these guys up because they're gonna consume a lot of space. So a good floor area or something, if you're doing a bigger frame like that, will definitely be an asset. But I'd be curious, once you've done a lot of the stuff with this, which is more versatile? These are 18 inches and these are 3 feet. And so, or 15 inches rather, and 3 feet. And so, something that size, something this size, or something in between. Let us know, and we can always modify it for the next one.